I would like to call the Committee on Academic Policies and Programs to order. I will note the presence of a quorum. The first item on our agenda is the approval of new degree programs, and I will call on Vice Chancellor Warren Nichols.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the committee, Chancellor Morgan. Today I have two proposals to bring before you for approval. With your permission, I will present both proposals, address any questions, and then request approval for both programs.
Proceed.
Columbia State Community College and Dyersburg State Community College each are proposing to establish a new Associate of Applied Science degree in Medical Informatics to be implemented spring semester of 2014. Medical Informatics combines elements of health information technology and computer information technology to meet the emerging needs of healthcare facilities. The proposed degree will prepare students with the skills required for entry-level positions related to information technology in the health field. Columbia State and Dyersburg State are two of 4 community colleges that have partnered in the United States Department of Labor Community College Career Training Grant, which we refer to as the RX Tennessee Consortium, and to deliver this degree. This curriculum at each of the institutions is aligned with the existing Associate of Applied Science degree in Medical Informatics at Volunteer State Community College. The proposed program requires completion of 60 semester credit hours, and the curriculum is presented in your board materials. Delivery will be through a mixture of methods. Some courses will be fully online, while others will be offered in a hybrid format. Many of the courses for this proposed program are existing courses used in other information technology and healthcare programs. Upon completion of the grant, the program will be sustained at both colleges by using existing resources at the institutions. No new state dollars are required to support these two proposed degree programs, and there is no professional accreditation available for the program at this time. The proposed degree will have a positive impact for the respective service areas, allowing the colleges to provide additional opportunities for entry into the healthcare field, as well as address the workforce needs in an area within a great demand. The proposals have been reviewed by the staff of the Office of Academic Affairs and the offices of community colleges. Chair, I will request approval of these programs and stand ready for any questions.
Do any members of the committee have a question? If not, before we vote, I would like to call on Vice Chancellor Tristan Denley to present the university proposal.
Thank you.
And let me say before Vice Chancellor Denley speaks that we are all on the board, I think, extremely pleased with John Morgan's selection of Vice Chancellor Denley to his position, and we look forward to a lot of good work.
Well, thank you. I look forward to working with you too. Thank you.
Right.
Good afternoon, and I have one new program to propose at the universities this afternoon. So this is a professional science master's degree in applied geospatial sciences, and it will be it's proposed to be at Tennessee State University. So this is part of a sequence of new degrees that we've established across the system over the last few years. Began as a model at MTSU. MTSU several years ago began a new degree which in bioinformatics. And that degree was primarily aimed at giving students a master's degree, which is essentially a terminal master's degree, a master's degree that really would have some currency in the workplace. Based on the success of that program, the system has established a number of professional master's degrees across the state, most recently at Tennessee Tech and also at Austin Peay. And so this is part of that sequence. This new degree will train students to have expertise in geospatial information systems, which is a specialty which has been developed at TSU, and is really an expertise which has an enormous part to play in the workforce today. There's a lot of jobs which are open to people who have that skill set. This degree is proposed to be delivered almost entirely online, as indeed each of these degrees has been. And again, that adds to the marketability of the degree. It now makes it possible for working professionals to go and get additional training to take their bachelor's degree to a master's degree level. And it also is proposed to involve an internship as part of the training. And that too is part of this professional science master's degree model, that these students, as well as getting academic skills, also have experience working in the workplace with industry as part of their degree. I believe that you have the curriculum as part of your materials, and so if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I propose this addition as a new degree.
Any questions of Vice Chancellor Denley? Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve these 3 degree proposals.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is a revision to a policy, and I will call on Vice Chancellor Denley for that presentation.
Thank you. So this is a proposed revision to Policy 5020330, the Academic Freedom and Responsibilities Policy. So this policy traditionally has addressed issues of academic freedom, of the way in which faculty and students interact in the classroom. And over the last year, there has been a conversation among faculty and administrators and...
Vice Chancellor,
Sir.
can I interrupt you?
Yes, you can.
Could you speak a little more directly into the microphone?
Yes, sir. Is that
because
better?
Some of us are hard of hearing, and
I understand. Is that better? I'm sorry.
that's better.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is a proposed revision to Policy 5020330, the Academic Freedom and Responsibility Policy. Traditionally, this policy has served to address the interaction of faculty and students in the classroom, and indeed faculty as part of their research role on campuses, to enable them to act freely as academic members of the community. Over the last year, there has been significant conversation about how that same freedom should extend to faculty role as part of shared governance on campus. And so the language which is brought before you today is a proposed change to that policy which would extend this concept of academic freedom to the realm of institutional governance and support the role of faculty in the governance of the institution. It comes to you endorsed by all of the 3 policy-making sub-councils and also by the President's Council, and so I submit it to you for approval today.
All right. Any questions on this proposal? Vice Chancellor, I would suggest that we proceed along without having a separate motion on every one of these to these proposed policy changes. So
Thank
if
you
you
very
would
much.
proceed with items 4, 5, 6, and 7.
I will do that. Thank you.
I have 4, 6, and 7. I'll call on Vice Council Mary Moody for the 6th one.
So the next proposed revision is to policy 2010004, which is a policy that governs the awarding of credits earned through extra institutional learning. So this again is work that has been going on actually across the entire state since the enactment of the Tennessee Complete College Act, and also work with Complete College America on the Challenge Completion Initiative. So this work, together with the UT system, there was a task force that was created to investigate how it might be that as a state we would consistently award credit for prior learning assessment for a variety of different kinds of ways to earn credit, some very familiar, I think, such as credit earned through AP exams or CLEP tests, but also experiences using portfolio work and using perhaps life experiences that students have lived out. And so that task force met and developed a framework under which this credit might be consistently applied across both the TBR system and also across the UT system. The report of that task force was then submitted to both and has worked its way through both the sub-councils and also the President's Council. And this proposed change to this policy would make the work of that task force in effect as when it comes to the way in which prior learning assessment would be understood here in this system and also in the UT system. So there would be a consistency in the way in which it both awarded and recorded, and also if any institution within the system awards such prior learning assessment credit, that credit would be freely transferable throughout the system.
Thank you. Any questions on this particular? Yeah, Regent Ferris.
I have just one question. I was in Dyersburg earlier this week, and we had a discussion with Senator Norris about a bill that passed this year called LEAP.
Mm-hmm.
And does this have any part in LEAP? Is it related at all?
I think it's broadly related. I mean, it's part of a general picture to try to enable students to earn valuable academic credit, but through perhaps sources which are not the traditional framework.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Go ahead and proceed with item 4.
Thank you. Thank you. So item 4 is a proposed revision to the student disciplinary policy, SA 0601 at Roane State Community College. So the proposed revision is that on that campus, rather than the campus distributing its own disabled tags for parking, instead that they would observe the Tennessee state issued disability tags, and that would be the tag which allowed you to park in a disabled space on campus. And also that if you were to park in the space without such a tag, then the fine would be $200. So that's the proposed revision to the policy.
Thank you. Any question on that policy revision? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve those 3 policy changes. Motion made by Regent Ferris.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'd now like to call on General Counsel Mary Moody for a conversation about a student organization policy revision.
This proposed revision is to policy 3010100, which is the general student organizations policy, and it is designed to bring our policy in compliance with the Tennessee law on the subject. This past session, the General Assembly passed Public Chapter 283, which is now codified at Tennessee Code Annotated 49-7-156, which prohibits a state higher education institution that grants recognition to any student organization from discriminating against or denying recognition to a student organization or deny to a student organization access to programs, fundings, or facilities otherwise available to another student organization on the basis of the religious content of the organization's speech, including but not limited to worship, or the organization's exercise of its rights pursuant to subsection B, and subsection B provides that a religious student organization may determine that the organization's religious mission requires that only persons professing the faith of the group and comporting themselves in conformity with it qualify to serve as members or leaders. And previously, our policy required all student organizations that were to be recognized to open their membership to all members of the student body. And so this new policy revision follows the statute, which allows organizations that limit their membership on a religious basis to still get recognition as a student organization and have all the benefits of a recognized student organization.
Thanks, Ms. Moody. This is somewhat of a controversial piece of legislation, and I would welcome any conversation from board members if you'd like to discuss it.
I'll move approval.
Motion been made to approve.
Second.
Second. Obviously, no further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Did they get an Attorney General's opinion on the bill? Do you know?
I'm not sure if there was an opinion on the bill. I believe there was. There were two different opinions. Most of the opinions that they got related to bills that attempted to enforce this against private institutions, and the Attorney General ruled that they couldn't. As you may recall, this bill arose out of an incident that occurred at Vanderbilt University. We've never had an issue or a complaint that I'm aware of at any of our institutions about organizations being denied recognition. But Vanderbilt had a problem, and unfortunately, since the legislature couldn't reach Vanderbilt, they decided to make sure that we would never have a problem in our system or the UT system. So it requires all of our institutions to recognize student organizations that may limit their membership on the basis of a religious belief. And we've made it clear to all of our institutions that they cannot question anybody's religious belief, and that every religion is entitled to equal recognition under this act.
Any further questions? If not, all in favor of this policy change, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Me. I oppose it. So it passes. I don't think we have any real choice, but I disapprove of that legislation. 6 and 7 items on the agenda. Vice Chancellor Tristan Denley, you're on.
Thank you. So the first report I bring this afternoon is a summary of the accreditation activities that have happened across the system this year, from July 1st, 2012 until June 31st, 2013. Let me first talk about institutional accreditation. We've had 5 of our universities involved in some form of activity related to SACS reaffirmation, either being involved in preparing a self-study, having a visit, or being involved in one of the mid-cycle 5-year reports. And 7 of the community colleges have likewise been involved in work with SACS. Of our program accreditation, we have 397 programs in the system that are subject to accreditation by national agencies. Of those, actually all but 2 are successfully accredited. One of those 2 at Pellissippi State, the engineering tech program, is moving its accreditation from ABET accreditation to AT-MAE accreditation, and so it currently is in that transition. And the other, the Mass Communication Program at ETSU, was previously accredited through the ACEJ-MC, and that eligibility has recently been dropped, and so they are beginning the work to become reaccredited. But of those, other than that, all of our programs are successfully accredited. It is also the case that we have 138 programs which this year have been involved in some work with their accrediting agencies. Of those 138, 71 of those programs have currently heard successful reports from their accrediting agencies. So this is very encouraging news. As I'm sure you are aware, we have a very robust form of program assessment across the system that on a 5-year cycle, each program in the system goes through either an academic audit or a program review. So these are very slightly different kinds of flavor of a process which involves that department doing a very detailed self-study of the structure of the program, the success of the students in the program, how the curriculum is structured, ways in which perhaps the curriculum might be refined or improved, and then a panel of experts in that field and colleagues across the system would come to the campus, sometimes from also outside Tennessee, would come to the campus, and the program goes through that review process of working with them to see ways in which that program could be improved. It's a very significant level of review, and one which is somewhat distinctive to Tennessee, and so we should be very proud of that. This year, we had 38 academic programs that went through that academic audit, and 28 programs that went through the program review. And this year we have, we will have the largest ever collection of programs that will go through those processes. So this is a very significant undertaking, but it's a very important one now that we have moved to a funding formula which values outcomes so strongly, and importantly so. Having a very robust understanding of quality is an important part of that balance, so this is an important part. So that's the end of my report about accreditation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? This does not require any approval, but any questions of that report? Excellent report. If not, we'll move to the last item on the agenda, the fall enrollment report, which is not real encouraging, but
it is
let's
not.
have
It is not as encouraging as it might be, but there is a silver lining. Maybe if we could just pop over. So what I wanted you to see was, and I guess it's in your screens in front of you, I wanted you to see the enrollment trend across the system over the last few years, so that you can get some idea about where it is that we are and what are the different forces that might be unfolding. So you can see to the far right are the enrollment bars for the universities and community colleges, that we have roughly 90,000 students in each the universities and the community colleges right now. That enrollment, the total enrollment, is down roughly 3% from last year. So here's the trend as it seems to be unfolding. If you look back to 2008 when the economic downturn began, as happens so often, students in times of hard economic times, they return to higher education, not only traditional age students, but also adults and those who are perhaps now displaced from work. And so you can see that playing itself out in the enrollments of fall 2010, fall 2011. You can see that large number of students who are coming back into that. As the economy is itself beginning to feel more positive, so it is also the case that that effect will gradually diminish. It's also the case that high school, the number of high school students who are graduating from Tennessee's high schools through that same time went through a demographic bubble, which we are now coming out of. This year's graduating class from high schools was roughly 10% smaller than last year. And this is a general pattern now, that we will also go through a period where the number of students who are graduating from high schools is a little leaner than it has been. It is also the case that, as you will see in some reports later, many of the initiatives that have been put in place have been making their effect, and students are graduating from both community colleges and from universities in increasing numbers. And so, of course, there are a number of students who, had they not graduated, would be included in these enrollment numbers. As we graduate students more effectively and more quickly, so that also is felt in that enrollment number. So that's a sort of a good part of the downturn. But that good part of the downturn does not explain all of the behavior that you see before you. So the good part of the position that we're in is that we have many initiatives that are either in place or are going in place to attract new students into higher education, to try to reach populations that have been traditionally underserved. But of course, it is the case that as those initiatives have gone into place, they don't create graduates immediately. Those graduates have to work their way through the system. If you dig a little deeper, and I'd be happy to show you as many charts and graphs and spreadsheets as you can stomach if you would like to see those.
Proceed.
Thank you. But I thought that I would spare you on the screen. The encouraging thing is that on the front end, that at least in the universities, we actually have a larger incoming class, a larger freshman class than we have seen. So there are more students who are coming in on the front end. So in that sense, it is a mixed report, that ideally we would like to see our enrollments increasingly climbing. There are some parts of the landscape that suggest that probably is unrealistic at this particular moment. But we also believe that we have initiatives in place that will reverse this trend, and that's the direction we would like to see.
Thank you, Dr. Denley. Before I make my comment, does anybody wish to make a comment on his report about this enrollment? I will say I compliment you on putting a very positive positive sign on what could have been a negative report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
I think that concludes the agenda for the Academic Committee, so we are adjourned.
I thank you, Regent Thomas. And with that, we will ask the members of the Committee on Personnel and Compensation to please come forward. That includes the Chairman, Regent Roddy, Regents Copeland, Regent Ferris, Regent Markham, and once again, Regent Varland. And we'll get underway momentarily.